breakfast.
Well, I haven't eaten.
It's terrible. I had coffee, that's it. Good morning, people. Hi, Julie. Hey, you know what, guys? I'm real close to resigning. I'm finished with these notes that I get from you. And you're saying in 2 sentences. I don't know what message we got for our again was 180. No symptom. I was scared because I'm always scared. And I've never Linda. So I went to they brought my dear Bob.
Yes, sometimes.
So anyway, I said, a few days before, I was there for this assessment. He said that it was 179 then. Normally, I'm like 130, 135. And so anyway, then it comes and I said, let me get and I'm doing whatever. Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to start. Can you please put your phones on silent?
So anyway, but now it's been a week, I'm fine. But I have a cardio appointment. Oh, you found his name is Rod Beer, and everybody loves him.
All right, we're just a little bit behind. I'm going to call to order the March 19th, 2022 Board of Directors meeting for Fort Clark Springs Association. We have a quorum. We'll start out with a moment of silence, followed by the pledges. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the
Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Oh, okay. That's great. Thank you. I got it.
All right, has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes from the February 19th, 2022 meeting?
Yes.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Abstain. I wasn't here.
Yep. I'll get to it. We'll move on to the Secretary's report.
We had one piece of correspondence that was from outside, and that was from the Kinney County Junior Livestock Show Reserve Champion Steer owner Will Lewis. Dear Fort Clark Association, thank you for supporting my 4-H project this year. I have been in the 4-H for 7 years and was elected 4-H president this year. In this position, I have been able to further learn about 4-H and its many projects. Thank you again for your support. I look forward to continuing to show cattle for many years to come. Sincerely, William Lewis. Okay, and then I got the community council report. not report, but the highlights. Do you want me to read these, or do you want to put them in your report?
I have probably similar information in my
Okay,
report.
then I'm gonna let you do that in your report. All right, thank you.
All right, we'll get to the treasurer's report.
Motel occupancy revenue for the month of February was $33,620. And we had 46 DPS troopers here. Member Service Board report, lot sales, transfer fees, resale certificate fees for a total of $1,275. Collection Board for the month of February this year, $10,789. Where was I? Oh, members, delinquent notices, 85% collection, FRM collections, 52%. Keep up the good work, people. For the month of February, the gross profit, $194,746. For the accumulation from October to February, $1,058,204. The expenses for the month of February, $208,965 for a net operating loss of $14,219, which does not include depreciation or bad debt expenses. The year, $976,064 expenses with a profit of $82,140, which again does not include depreciation or bad debt expenses. The figures are available. Our balance sheet, our total assets is, wow. Oh, yes, I'm sorry, I forgot the zero, I mean, the period. $1,635,385.96. And total liabilities, equity is $1,635,385.96. The preservation that's what I figured. Is in preservation is $22,891.82. Our bank balances for Texas Community, $148,604.22. The credit card account, $100,469. And money market is $9,294.96. That's Texas Community. A bank and trust, Los Morris, $934.91. Restricted fund, $396,602.06. The general fund, $186,323.66. Preservation for the month, $474.90. That's for February.
We have not transferred the money to that account from our general account, so you said 22,000 is actually, we have to transfer that into that account.
reservation.
Yeah, right, okay. I'm done. I think there's copies of the sheets on the back anyway, so.
Go ahead.
My turn.
Yes.
If anybody remembers where we were last year at this time, we were recovering from a little freeze. So, you know, as far as being able to come out in after February in the kind of shape we are now compared to last year, it's an amazing difference. We're not trying to go back and repair things that happened for a month. So we're getting a little bit more of a head start. One of the biggest things we've done in February, I've been working, and this is why my report's going to be a little shorter, is that I've been working with our auditor and going through all of our books and trying to develop a balance sheet that is correct. And he has outlined every area that we need to pay attention to for the future. That I think I had 47 different entries to make on our audit, on our accounting, to get everything set up with our balance sheet correctly. Now, starting now, this next week, we'll be working with our new accounting firm, trying to keep it balanced for the next year. So I think we're way ahead of where we were. But just for instance, I think it was reported that our motel revenue was $33,000 in February. And that's after we lost $10,000 basically because of the booking pattern for Fort Clark days. Because we had to guarantee so many rooms, we lost our DPS for 2 weeks. So we still lost, we still had $33,000. Last year we did $7,000. So it's a big change there. February is usually not going to be our money-making month anyway, but the fact that we did do a little bit better. We had a net operating loss of $14,000, but that's after paying our auditors, after paying $8,500 for an air conditioner for the service club or for the accounting. So we did a lot of capital expenses that are in there. So it's a huge change. Just from last year, we're basically over $50,000 better than we were last year at this time. And I think that's conservative as far as what we've paid for. We finished 3 more rooms in the motel, which means we have 9 left to do. We probably, because of the way we are already too full, we probably won't finish these 9 until the end of the summer, which is that's a good time, but we have to maximize the revenue that we're making now. But the audit is complete. He's ready to give a presentation next week. If anybody's gone down Chandler Road, you will see where we started our first demolition of properties that we own that need to be replaced. Now, I will say the reason we do the priority that way is these could not be secured. We had to get rid of these because anybody could have walked in, hurt themselves, things like that. So we had to start tearing these down first. Some of the other ones that need to go, we can lock them up and people can't get in them. So that's why we're doing it in this order. It did fill 1 whole container, and we probably will have 2 more containers to fill up before we get rid of all the stuff that's down there. It's that much. So in other words, we'll sit there and go, okay, we're going to spend about $3,000 just in hauling stuff out of there. But that gives us 6 different lots that we can sell. So it'll clean it up and it'll give us something else to put back on the books. The next 6 months, as I said in the town hall this week, we're going to try not to really take on any more big projects for the next 6 months. Our staff is stretched just to finish the things we've started. So you'll see the landscaping changing over to tree maintenance, to roads and grass and things like that. And that's just what we do this time of the year. Our outside group, this is when we'll start working on some of the stuff on the inside when the heat starts getting bad. So for the next 6 months, we will be finalizing projects we've started and trying to get things cleaned up so that by the end of September, which is our fiscal year, we'll be able to start next year reasonably understanding where we are and what we need to get done. We did have some real good settlements on 2 properties that we've been after since I came here, that we had full payment. We did not make any concessions as far as any settlement costs. We took the full amount. They have been paid in full, and they are back on our book. They were on our books anyway, but it was going to be bad debt. But because of the way it works, when you're actually foreclosing on something, you need to keep putting the assessments on them. So these properties have already been foreclosed on, or not foreclosed on, but paid off before they were foreclosed on. And we got full restitution for all the money that we had, including legal fees. We have about 5 or 6 more that are real close to finalizing, and probably about 10 more after that that are in the works. And we've had real good success with our lawyers and working with them. Golf course has the big tournament today. But we did start working with some chemicals on the greens to restore the greens. And we got that started up this last month. And we have a program, a yearly program. It's the first time it's ever been done that we're actually treating them the way we should be. So that's all I have for now.
Thank you. Also, I'd like to thank you and your staff for all the signs that have been redone. They're looking great. I don't know if anyone's noticed these signs, but they're the older signs that we've had that are, they get on the CNC machine and put them through. Especially the one that was like my biggest pet peeve at the beginning, that was 2 different browns. Thank you for taking care of that one. I really appreciate that. But they look great, and I think that the residents and the members here really appreciate seeing that kind of stuff kept going. So, thank you. We'll move on to the committee reports.
Airport. There were 3 aircrafts that flew in during the month. Member guests, the airport committee made the hangar available for the golf cart progressive dinner on the 16th. Stan answered questions about the airport during that time. Stan Martin, Fort Clark Springs Airport Committee.
Yes.
Lease Avail, the Architecture Committee. A new member was added to the committee, Mr. Vince Valdez. We've processed approximately 8 permits and 6 violations this month. We've also kicked back numerous permits without adequate information. We're still looking for up to 3 more committee members, and ARC will not be meeting next week. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
This is from Katie Brown. This past month, the golf committee, A, finished the restrooms on the course. B, installed a water fountain. C, paid for a motor for the mower. D, paid for new flags on the golf course. E, bought ant poison. F, routed the drain for the AC and ice machine at the pro shop. The Las Moras Hoagie Nelson Memorial Tournament is this weekend, March 19th and 20th. Proceeds will fund high school scholarships.
Thank you. Preservation.
The Preservation Board report for March 2022. We met on March 9th, 2022 at 3 p.m. in the boardroom. We discussed a variety of subjects, but mainly the tax reduction repair work. Ava Huey has volunteered to develop a spreadsheet based on historical data on tax reduction repair jobs. This will be a longer-term project. Sharon Grigort and team pulled up old carpet in the powder magazine and to really dress it up for 4 Clark days. I elected not to start any repair jobs due to upcoming 4 Clark days. Respectfully submitted, H.N. Vitter.
Thank you.
Any questions?
We'll be happy to see the spreadsheet.
Thank you.
Recycling? Thank you.
Good news, we made another $404. January shipment, finally, we got some money from. Waste Management decided to raise the truck rate again. Now it's $592.25. We had, the last one was $575, and that was just a few months ago. They claim gas prices are up and labor shortage. So 10% also is taken from what we make for Texas, Keep Texas Recycling. So we actually, our shipment was for $1,107, but the check was for $404. So.
But you made money.
We made money. Thanks to our volunteers once again. We're going to be closed for the annual meeting, March 26th. And I think that's, we've had some real issues with high winds and our full plastic bags are like being blown all over the yard. So we're kind of considering a small fence. We have to talk more to Alan about it. But maybe that'll capture the plastic bags because, you know, we're going all over the lot because of this frequent wind problem. I think that's all.
We will have some extra fencing.
Yeah, extra fencing, that's great. Yeah, Joe and I were talking about it. It's shouldn't have to happen, but it does. I think that's all.
Ms. McBride, I just mentioned to Mr. Peterson about the drip or the water loss in the back of the recycle center, and he's noted it. So hopefully they'll look at it soon.
Yeah.
We're losing a lot of water back there.
We are. We're losing water, and that work order went in probably, I don't know, 2 months ago. I can't keep track of it. There was a hose attached, 10-foot hose attached, and the reason the water is there is some people don't wash out their bottles, and I always ask them to go back and wash them out so we don't have flies and vermin in the warehouse. So hopefully it'll get fixed. We didn't know where the cutoff was, so we couldn't do anything other than put in a work order. So, any questions? Any problems?
No, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We can move into the restoration project.
Yeah. This is a report from Chris Hale, our chairman of the Les Morris Restoration Project. The gun raffle was very successful with D&D Hardware, Linda O'Brien, and Angela Hahn raising more than $6,000. Yay. This puts the committee's fundraising efforts at more than $35,000 in money and materials. All of the money has gone to repair the pool, with the repair of the steel inlet gate apparatus expected to be completed next week. We're still trying to coordinate the next phase of sidewalk replacement, but we think that work will happen soon. A new raffle fundraiser has begun, this time for a model 1842 cavalry saber made in Prussia early in the Civil War. The authentic saber may well have spent time at Fort Clark during the Indian Wars, please support the raffle so that we can continue the progress of repairs.
Thank you.
That's it.
Gilly?
I'll defer to the agenda item.
Okay, thank you. Community council?
Oh, here we go, I'm sorry. Sorry,
No.
I'm shutting off my cell phone. This, Kathy Morm is the secretary who wrote this, and she's got a conflict today. We have some soda and water left over from the donated bottles from Coca-Cola, and we're gonna save them for next year's Fort Clark Days. The ladies' tea was another event. The 35 ladies were there. Some items that the coordinators would like for future use. Teapots, serving utensils, plates, dish towels, storage containers. And this would probably cost $200. It was suggested that Community Council purchase 2 more canvas tarps. That's by the Living Historians. The cost would be about $500, and that doesn't include the braces, rope, paint, or dowels. The board agreed to table the purchase. We have to see how much money came in from Fort Clark Days. There was a lengthy discussion among the audience about concerns with handling Fort Days traffic. Trucks, cars, golf carts, and pedestrians. The food row was congested because of too much traffic there. A final comment referred to the success that this was, and it was estimated that maybe 2,000, 3,000 people came in. Some people didn't pay. So we probably lost some money there. Anyway, the issue that was raised was what's the fort going to do with 20,000 people that might show up for the solar eclipse, traffic-wise. Next meeting is April 9th here in the boardroom for all lot-owning members. Thank you. 10 o'clock. Any questions? Okay.
Good, thank you. Okay, so the next item is the update on the lease for the wastewater treatment plant. If you've been following this, at the last meeting I spoke about a hearing that was between a group of concerned ranchers and TCEQ and MUD. So that hearing was on March 2nd. Basically, that was a hearing just to establish the fact that these concerned people had the ability to protest the permit. They're now in a discovery phase where they're getting their experts together and getting all of the information that they need to kind of talk about what they think they need to do going forward, whether that's TCEQ or MUD. So that's kind of where we're at this point. Now, where do we fall kind of in this situation? In the permit, there are certain things that are required. Through this process, I think that we'll see, just how the performance has been over time. So we'll see how this kind of turns out as we go through the entire process. So that's where we are. We don't currently have a lease with the utility district for the irrigation system that's on the golf course, but that's something that we're seeking and that we think we'll get over time with a situation that will be more favorable to the membership. So, any questions on that? A couple of discussion items, the Chandler Properties, with what we have listed here. But there's a couple of things that I actually would like to address during this time, and we'll open this up for discussion because I know that this was something that was discussed at the town hall, but it's also something that we continue to hear. So the 3 things I'd like to discuss are the Chandler Properties, collections, and speeding. So, and the reason I'm kind of put these three together, they all kind of make sense in the realm of a process. For many, many years, we've looked at opportunities or different situations, and we've made a decision, and we've run with it, and it may have been good, it may have been bad. With the Chandler Properties, you all know about these properties. They've been talked about in multiple meetings, and it's been a contentious effort. We thought we had a solution, which was to put out a request for a proposal from local contractors to come in and look at taking the property and clearing it, which would be at no cost to the association or the membership, and then having them develop it under a set of standards that we would have set with the board and the architectural committee and management. So for a long time, we were going down this process, and we thought that it was something that was going to be very fruitful because we could continue to do that with properties on the fort. And we got our ducks in a row from a board perspective. We took that to our attorneys, and they were like, don't you dare. Don't even think about doing this. It's a 30-page document. You're going to spend more in attorney's fees than you will ever recoup from doing this to these properties. So now we go back to management, and we said, we can't do this. So where we thought we were going to be able to do it for free, and we were going to have this great new housing development put in, because we were going to have someone come in and they were going to have to build to our standards, well, that was, just a fruitless experience, other than we know that we can't do that. So now we got to get on the maintenance schedule, get the dumpsters out here, clean those properties up. But what I want to highlight about this is that this is a process where we thought we had a solution, we didn't, and then we had to go back to another situation where we were going to clean something up. We have to continue to operate in this fashion, or we're never going to see sustained improvement. So I'm going to ask for your patience when we do start looking at things like these properties that we'll continue to talk about. And that's one area where taking the time to understand the process and use the resources that we have has been fruitful. Collections, same thing. We collected an exorbitant amount of money in March, which you'll see in the next report, based on what Mr. Peterson was talking about earlier. The reason we're able to do that, because we took the time to work with the attorneys to develop the process where we know exactly what we're doing, and the staff here at the fort is able to follow it to a T. And when you do that, the law is on our side. We spent a little bit of money up front, but we have paid for that in being able to bring collections to a situation where we were at 8 to 10% delinquency. Now we're between 5 and 6%. So another situation where, yes, it took longer than everyone wanted to, but if we just follow the process, it will work, and we will continue to see sustained results like this. Now we'll move right into the speeding here. Because I know that there's some thought processes that we haven't done much as a board or as a management team in general. And I take a little bit of concern with that, in the sense that your board has spoken to the sheriff. We do understand that they're under different circumstances than when we first had the conversation. But we've spoken to him about the speeding. We have identified the agreement that was made by a previous board where they have the opportunity to enforce the speeding and traffic signals on main roads on the fort. So from a board perspective, we've looked at it. Now what's your management team doing? I mentioned the signs earlier. They're going through and not only fixing the signs that mark the roads, but they're identifying the stop signs, identifying the speed limit signs, and getting a plan together to put those signs back into a working order where you can actually see them. I know there's one on Fort Clark Road that you can barely see what it says. It's an old looking sign. I'm sure we could sell it for $50 or whatever. But it's a process, and we are doing things now, and it's something that it takes time. And so while the speeding hasn't stopped, it is better, and we have to do these things to put ourselves in a position for what I'm going to ask you to do now. Remember, your sheriff's department is elected by you. If they're not getting the resources to work with Operation Lone Star and patrol, that's an electorate issue, not a board issue. We have done what we need to do to have the conversation with them, to give them access to the fort, to give them the ability to operate here. If they need more resources, then we have to support them as a community to help them get more resources from the county commissioner or go to the state. You know, there's several opportunities that they have. If our speeding problem, we have to support them to help them support us. So just looking at us and coming to us and saying, fix the speeding, but I mean, we want me to stand out there with a stop sign? I'm happy to, but that's only going to work when I'm standing out there. So we've got to work together to do that. And so your management team and your board has done what we can do, and we will continue to have these conversations, but now it's in the hands of the electorate. So it's kind of where our head is, or my head is on that. So any questions or comments about those three items?
FYI, the county commissioners for Fort Clark Springs are, in precinct 4 is Tim Ward, and precinct 1 is Mark Barrett. So they would be good people to talk to in addition to.
Thank you. That is important information. I forgot to mention that. And precinct 4 is
This side of Fort Clark, and for the most part, and that's a basic. And then Fort Clark, this side where you're at, Colony Row Airport is Mark Barrett.
all right. We didn't have any email votes this month. We have an agenda item to approve dissolving the election committee.
Yeah, I would like to make a motion to table this until after the annual meeting and the votes are announced. In case any people have any problems with it, you still have the committee available to address any items.
I'll second that.
Okay, so discussion on this, please.
I have a report to give in.
Oh, so we have a motion on the table.
I would like to address that motion.
Yeah, so that's I'm opening for discussion.
Okay, Sandy Hagan, Election Committee. According to both state law and according to our governing documents, the election committee's responsibility ends with mailing of the ballots. We have no authority after that point to do anything or respond to how the auditor counts the ballots. Our responsibility is to notify our property owner voters of their responsibilities in filling out a ballot, which means signing them, not changing the envelopes, sending them back in the correct envelope and so forth, which is all listed out clearly on the ballot. That's our responsibility as golf committee. Now, you may delay this until next month, but if the results coming from the auditor are challenged in any way, we as a golf committee have no authority to do anything about that.
Election.
Truly, well, you know where my mind is on sports.
What time is it? Yeah, what time?
No, I'm not playing this year, I'm just working. Anyway, with the election committee, he has no authority to do anything after it gets to the auditor. So you may certainly wait until next month to dissolve the committee, but if anything comes up in the meantime, the committee itself cannot do anything to assist.
Wasn't there an issue the last time about we shouldn't have done it so early? Wasn't there an issue?
The issue last time, as I recall, and as Robert helped me to remember, because I gave up my position on the committee last year because I ran for the directorship.
Oh.
But the question that came up was there were like 91 votes or something weren't counted. The votes that aren't counted are the ones that violate the instructions. And there's nothing we can do about that. People, you know, members are adults. They read. It's all right there. But the election committee can't correct the auditor's results. So delaying the committee it's fine with me. I will come back next month and do this again. However, there's nothing we can do as a committee.
So, and actually, in order to protest an election, if you were to do that, and this is a question, not a statement. In our regulations, it's required to send that protest to the agent of the association, so that wouldn't even go to the election committee to begin with.
No.
So, for those who made the motion, or anyone who has, what scenario or what situation do you see the election committee acting in? What example of a situation would they be acting in so that we're all on the same page?
Well, based on Sandy's report, I would rescind the motion because she explained that they're out of it, period.
Right. I just want to make sure that there's something that we're not thinking of.
No. This was only in case somebody, at the annual election yelled out, hey, that he's not allowed, something,
And so in order to challenge the election, you would have to send it to the registered agent of the association, which is required by our documentation, and that would go to Alan Peterson.
Yes.
So that would be the proper steps to challenge the election.
Right, so that's why I am rescinding the.
And I seconded it because I got hollered at because we couldn't talk about it.
No, that's perfect. I mean, we're able to discuss it. So we'll just let the motion.
I would like to ask though, just to get ahead of the complaint, that we ask the auditors to give us a report at the our annual meeting saying 81, because they do tell us so many ballots were disqualified, but to give us a breakdown of 5 were disqualified because they sent all of their ballots in the same envelope, which you can't do.
Right.
So they give us a breakdown.
So you're in charge of the election. Would you be comfortable reaching out to the auditor and ask for that? Oh, you.
Mr. Peterson would have to do it. We talked earlier that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that something we can ask for?
Already did.
Okay, great.
Problem solved.
I have one issue regarding the election and the annual meeting, and I know it's come up regularly for the last several years. The issue of the person reading
We discussed that, if you
the
recall.
reading from top voters to bottom voters, and the person reading it, and then someone rereading it.
Yeah, I think we talked about this when we sat at the election committee. We agreed, we highly recommend that you allow the auditor to read it, because that is her, legal job, basically, to report as an independent auditor. However, I would suggest that either someone on the board, say Travis, or Mr. Peterson, as in his position, to reread it.
Yeah.
And reread it slowly when giving out the figures, because some people in the audience are actually writing these things down. And I know as a board member, I was writing them down as well. So to allow her to do her thing, and then, or him or whoever they send, and then someone from either admin or the board to reread the letter slowly, and with good pronunciation, so that everyone hears the numbers.
Maybe what we can do, if we can get this TD over to the theater, when we break and go out, we could actually type it in on a Word document and just have it up there.
Probably be easier to get the LCD.
Okay, I mean, we'll come up with something.
Right.
Actually, this is.
Reading up there already.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things that we'll be discussing, just the different, who's going to do different pieces during the meeting, during executive. So we'll add this and we'll get that so that it's clear.
Yeah, because reading is really easy, and and it's a good segue.
Yeah.
Because you can come back up to the podium who's next to, because people aren't gonna be able to really see that from back up in there. So, would you like me to give my final report to the committee, since I didn't give it?
So we do have a motion, we do need to just, so all in favor? All opposed?
What do you,
The motion that you had,
Oh, the one, oh, so opposed, I got you now.
okay.
Okay.
Opposed?
If you rescinded it,
Okay, I have a copy of this for everybody, but my memory's not that good anymore. We met and discussed the issues, things that came up. Some of them were new, a couple were new, but most of them were old. One committee suggestion was to directly label the ballots themselves instead of paper labels that had to be transferred to the ballots. If we have the technology to do that, but the problem we saw immediately with that was the folding of those. So whether the print shop could also print the labels on the ballots, but also fold them so they all fit in the
We
envelopes.
have the technology, we do not have the people competent in the technology.
Okay. Well, it's just a suggestion for the future. We got together and this time on the Wednesday, the entire committee attached the labels themselves rather than doing it on the mailing day, which saved us time on mailing, but also allowed us to count and recount to make sure we had labels checked off against the lists. And when we went into the Friday mailing, everything was clean, counted, double counted, and ready to go. Okay, the next was that during ballot mailing, in the past, we've always told the tables that they set up their own system for stuffing and counting and sealing. And the same problems come up every year with that. So our recommendation is that for future mailing days and committees, that the committee actually assign each table to do the exact same things. Have someone to stuff, have someone to do quality control, make sure that every ballot is one ballot, one attachment, one envelope, have someone else seal. So every table does the same thing. Because we had some problems that come up every single year about the count being off, having to reopen envelopes and check. So we strongly suggest that next year we actually have the same process followed by each table and have a quality control person be responsible for checking the envelope before it's sealed. The other recommendation is that the ballot be a different color. In other words, have the ballot maybe a light yellow, light pink, light blue, so that it looks different from the bio. So they can look in the envelope, make sure the ballot's in there. Because we had a couple of envelopes that came back with like 2 bios in it, but no ballot. And this person called us immediately and we took care of the problem. But it would have probably been a lot easier if they could have just looked at it, seen it as yellow one in there, or a pink one, or a blue one. Self-sealing envelopes would be helpful. We looked at the cost, probably not more than less than $100 just for our mailing envelope. Because even though we use those sponges, they can get kind of messy, and you end up with envelopes that are wet or too wet, depending on how much pressure somebody puts on them. Okay, and the only thing else that came up is that we got to the post office with all of the trays, turned them in. The check was there, but not the form that has to be filled out to go along with the check. So there was a miscommunication in admin. So the solution is to either make sure that they don't take the check over until they filled out this form that the post office requires, or they send them over with whoever the chairperson is that's taking the stuff over there, so they can give it to the post office. They were paid before they had the form. So I was able to, with permission from admin, sign that form for the post office. So everything went, it's gone, and I haven't had too many. Have you had any real calls? from people. It's just right away, there were a couple. One of them was an address problem that was not our problem. Yeah, the attorney that handled the property transfer had the wrong post office box. So there's no way we can do anything about that. So, do you have any questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome,
Thank you.
and thank you, and I want to thank the volunteers again, because without them, this would not be possible. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Safe.
Yeah, I played softball.
So do we have a motion to dissolve the election?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, a few announcements. The Easter egg hunts will be on April 16th. There will be hot dogs down at Rendezvous Park at 11 a.m. The sunrise service for Easter will be on April 17th at 7 a.m. at the amphitheater. There will be golf carts available to take members and guests down to the amphitheater from the parking lot. With the Winter Texans leaving, there will be periodic pancake breakfast and potlucks at the RV park. Dates will be announced via dispatch. This is skipping down, but just so that everyone knows, 10 a.m. That's a change in time. We normally do our meetings at 9, but 10 a.m. the Post Theater next Saturday for the annual meeting. So, just want to make sure while we have everyone here that was announced. Anything, directors?
I just have one thing. Mr. Peterson, are we obtaining / requesting for membership donations regarding the planting of trees this coming year?
We will be, yes.
Okay, so, but if anybody in the membership or anyone outside the membership wants to donate to a tree, they can contact you?
I just have a hard problem asking for money until I have specifics of what I'm asking for.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Comments, questions, concerns from the membership? This is your time to say anything you want.
And forever hold your peace.
Yeah. There you go. All right, so I guess sport's running great. Keep doing what you're doing. There were no comments.
Well, in case anybody's interested about the dust and the empty saddle, I did actually buy a new irrigation control so we can get the grass growing for next year's Fort Clark Springs. Maybe we can get things cleaned up over there.
Okay, great.
Travis,
Yes.
just a thought, in case anybody would just love to donate $25, Angela Hahn is in the back. If you want to get a ticket for the Sabre, so we could keep improving the swimming pool. So, Angela, I don't know.
I'm here. So the Sabre on view.
There's also supposed to be a saber demonstration.
I can come to the board table.
Who's gonna volunteer their head?
And it will be drawn, I think, the 4th of July.
4th of July, okay.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
In the past, the TCEQ has required that we break up deep beaver dams to allow full stream flow.
TCEQ was here this week. They went through, they know exactly what caused it, and they said absolutely nothing.
Really?
Wow.
Because they came down on us really hard several
They
years
came
ago.
up because they were wondering why the creek was low. Nobody thought that we're in a drought, maybe that has something to do with it. But they went in, they saw the water everywhere. We had basically 5 beaver dams from here all the way down, from up here all the way down to the golf course. And they said absolutely nothing about taking the dams down.
Well, that's a change because they threatened to fine us,
Yeah.
and they actually sent someone over from TCEQ.
No, they had somebody here the first of this week.
No, I mean to break up the rocks under the car bridge, to open up and take up the Weir Dam, and to break up the beaver dams. So the water, because the ranchers were complaining.
They complained this time, but it had nothing to do with the beaver dams, so they
Well,
didn't say a word.
Yeah, the water looks good down there, so.
Yeah, it
go for
does.
So, go check it out before the beavers take out
Hit
there.
the beavers to build it back at the Red Bridge.
Well, if we get a flood, the problem with that area is that if we get a flood, and after the last couple of droughts, we got major floods down there, unless the flood knocks out the beaver dam, you're gonna have really severe flooding right down there at the golf course.
You're gonna have severe flooding there no matter what, because there's no
Shallow.
way that bridge and the culverts under it can handle it. It's gonna stop whether the beaver dam's there or not. That's gonna be one of the sticking points, that and at the end of where Mr. Sweet lives, at the bridge there. Those are the two areas that will cause flooding, and it has nothing to do with beaver dams.
Answers my question, thank you.
Anything else? All right. Well, we will adjourn into executive session. It is 9:56.
Give it to You're not sounding great. It's hard getting over. He's in.
But I'm pretty much still more.
Now, the past, so you think about it,
D&D,
when I started,
yeah, they, I'm
Missed you. Thank you.
Well, give me a minute.
uh-oh, she's looking at me, what am I doing now?
All right, I'll just put it this is his first name,
There's no continuity. Having the same time doing it, you know?
That's facts, so here's his number. 270. Are you ready? You got 830-270-1652. And let me tell you where it is when you get down Garfield Road. Hey, how are you? And the hospital's there.
Well, I had to borrow that book from you and let me go through that stuff.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And I, that's okay, and I just asked Linda
Because he was in that complex.
Oh, really?
and they go, just, you know, slowly go through those.
So, it's across the street.
You still need those two.
Right, I guess you got the two that you have. Okay, that's a problem, no problem. That way I can start
See
going.
it best by seeing the green room. I don't know the number of the address, so, but they could give it to you. But he's good, he's board certified, and as far as I know, he's the only, well, there might be another cardio. He's not an interventionist guy. I mean, he's not gonna do catheterizations or anything. So, and I think he has another guy in there with him who is an interventionist.
Didn't he work at a San Antonio too?
Well, he's with the cardiology clinic of San Antonio.